Hello Lana, welcome again for our biology online session. I want to believe that there at home you are okay. So today we are going to continue with the endocrine system, and I want to believe by the end of the session you'll have learned a few things. So join me as we discuss. Now, in our previous session, we had discussed about the characteristics or the properties of the hormones, and we said that they are effective in lower concentration and that once produced they are channeled or transported to target cells without use of special tubes that we refer to as the ducts. So in this diagram, the blue part represents a specific type of hormone, and then on the target end we have the receptor cells or the receptor parts that are able to conform to the type of the hormone that is produced. So the hormone is produced by the secreting cell, and then the hormone is channeled into the bloodstream. This is a bloodstream, of course it's a blood vessel, it could be an artery, and then once it is relayed into the blood vessel, it is transported to the target cell. So in this diagram we are using two target cells, and remember the shape and the conformation of the target cells actually fits the type of the protein that has been produced here. That's why we say that each gland produces a particular hormone, and that hormone acts on a specific part of the body, which we refer to as a target part. That part could be a cell, it could be a tissue, or even an organ. Now, today, I want us to look at various hormones, where they are produced, and then the roles they play in coordination in animals. So, before we proceed, we'll have to check into some of the objectives that we are supposed to master. Objective number 1, you will be expected to describe various hormones and their roles in coordination in animals. Objective number 2, describe the effects of oversecretion or oversecretion or hyperactivity of specific gland, and undersecretion, again we can say that as underactivity of certain glands. And then we look at the specific hormone in question. What are some of the effects of overproduction or underproduction of the mentioned hormones? And then lastly, we'll be expected to look at the difference between the nervous system and the endocrine system, and of course you'll also be expected to look at the similarities between the two. Now, just as a recap, yesterday we said that the endocrine glands are ductless. They are ductless, unlike the exocrine glands, which have ducts. And therefore, we said that once the hormones are produced, the hormones are transported via the bloodstream. Now, in the mammalian body, there are about 8 glands that are responsible for production of specific type of hormones. So in this diagram that we have here, we have some of the sites and the specific type of hormone that is produced. For example, pineal gland is known to produce the hormone melatonin. Pineal gland is just found at the forebrain. It is responsible for producing melatonin. Melatonin is known to influence the wake and sleep cycle, and also influences the behaviors of organisms. Such behavioral changes such as we said hibernation, activation, and even migration that is commonly observed in some mammals. Then the other gland is the pituitary. Again, the pituitary gland is located on the forebrain, and it is known to produce many hormones. But remember, in coordination, we are going to look at specifically the growth hormone, which we refer to as somatotrophin. Somatotrophin is the growth hormone that is produced by the pituitary gland. But remember, this is the gland that controls all other glands in the body. Then the thyroid is found within the trachea or the windpipe. It is known to produce two hormones, that is thyroxine and parathyroid. Thyroxine and parathyroid. Then the adrenal gland. The adrenal gland produces adrenaline and another cortisol hormone, which we refer to as aldosterone. Remember, this one is essential for balancing of water and salts in the body. Of course, this one is covered in Form 2 under homeostatic role of the kidney, especially the nephrons. So the adrenal is there. You'll be able to see them. There are two pairs, each above the gland. Then pancreas, which is just below the stomach, is known to produce insulin and glucagon. Look at this leafy structure. It is shaped like a leaf, and therefore pancreas. Remember, this organ serves two purposes. That is, produces glands or produces hormones that are needed for regulation of blood sugar level, that is insulin and glucagon. And apart from producing hormones, it is also known to produce digestive juices. Remember the pancreatic juice. Then the ovary producing estrogen hormones, and then the testes that produces testosterone. Remember, both of them, they are found in reproductive sex organs, that is ovary for the females and the testes for the males. And again, one particular thing about this is that they only produce hormones at puberty, that is from the onset of puberty. Now, the hypothalamus is the part of the brain that we said controls the pituitary gland, and remember, its major role is homeostasis. Now, the hypothalamus, just check it out here, it is just below the cerebrum. The hypothalamus receives information from the nervous tissue or the nervous system. Remember, there are nerves that are innervating the brain section, those nerves that we call the cranial nerves. So it receives the information, and then it relays or delivers the impulse to the pituitary gland. The pituitary gland here. And now the pituitary gland is able to send appropriate impulse to specific endocrine glands, commanding them on the specific type of hormone to be produced relative to the process in question. That is the physiological process that is taking place. So that means that the hypothalamus is a very critical part of the brain that is needed during the process of coordination. And I want to insist, it is the center of controlling or coordinating homeostatic functions in the body. Now, the first part of the gland that we are going to look at is the pituitary. Remember, this one is located at the base of the forebrain, and it is involved in production of one specific hormone that we said is referred to as the growth hormone or somatotrophin. Now, apart from it producing a hormone, and at this point it is a gland, it has the control centers for other endocrine glands. That's why you're able to see the arrows radiating from the pituitary gland. For example, it sends information to the breast region, commanding the breast region to produce the hormone referred to as prolactin, which is needed for milk synthesis or milk formation. The other one is the hormone that is produced by the adrenal gland, and therefore we have adrenocortical hormone here, adrenocortical hormone that is also produced only under the influence of the pituitary gland. The other hormone that is produced under the influence of the pituitary gland is the thyroid stimulating hormone. Thyroid stimulating hormone, commonly denoted as TSH. Remember, the TSH is the one that stimulates the thyroid gland to produce the hormone thyroxine. We shall see the role of thyroxine in a few minutes. Then, the role of the growth hormone is actually on the bone section, the bone marrows. The bone marrows. It is the hormone that is produced, and therefore in sufficient quantity it ensures or enhances or stimulates the elongation, the normal elongation of bones in the body. Remember, we shall look at situation in which this hormone is overproduced, and such a situation can lead to extreme elongation of bones that can result to what we refer to as gigantism, or even if not produced in adequate amount, it can lead to conditions that we refer to as dwarfism. So the other hormone that is controlled by the pituitary gland is the ovary, and then the testes. Remember, all these two are only produced by the sexual reproductive structures. Therefore, the ovary and the testes produces luteinizing hormone, LH, and follicle stimulating hormone. Remember, the two of them are given another name, that is gonadotropic hormone. That is, they are produced under the influence of the pituitary gland, gonadotropic hormones. They are produced in the ovaries or the testes, but the influence comes from the pituitary gland. The other part is the kidney. The kidney here is the target organ, for ADH, especially the nephrons, where we know that the ADH or antidiuretic hormone stimulates the reabsorption or selective reabsorption of water back to the bloodstream. And then the last end is the uterus. Remember, in the uterus there is a hormone that acts on it, which is referred to as oxytocin. The role of oxytocin, of course, is to stimulate muscular contraction that is really needed during parturition or giving birth. So once those muscles contract, the baby can be pushed out of the uterus. Therefore, this hormone is produced by the pituitary gland, but remember, it acts on the uterine wall, the endometrium. Now, I've already mentioned about the growth hormone. You said that it stimulates the development of the long bones of the body. So what happens if it is produced in higher than normal amount? It leads to a condition that we refer to as gigantism or giantism. So this oversecretion is as a result of maybe a tumor on the pituitary gland. For example, in this diagram here, you can see this is a young man, it's a young boy, but he's really tall. He's really tall because of extreme elongation of the bones. And such conditions are the ones that we refer to as gigantism. Now, if growth hormone is produced in little or not sufficient amount, it leads to dwarfism. So we are going to continue in our next clip with the other hormones.